The sonar ping hits our ears like a gunshot in the dark. We're 800 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic, wrapped in steel and silence, when the first contact report crackles through the headset. Enemy vessel. Multiple vectors closing in. My heart stops for a fraction of a second, then accelerates into overdrive. 140 men. That's how many souls are trapped in this metal coffin with me right now. And every single one of us knows that what happens in the next few hours will determine whether we live to see daylight again. If you're someone who's drawn to stories of survival against impossible odds, stories where split-second decisions mean everything, then subscribe to this channel because we're about to walk you through one of the most intense moments in Cold War history. The captain's voice cuts through the ambient hum of the reactor, steady and measured, but underneath that control, I can hear the weight of command pressing down on him like the ocean itself. Silent running, he says. Not a peep, not a mechanical sound, not a footstep out of place, not even a dropped wrench echoing through these corridors. We go silent, and we go deep, or we die. The words hang in the recycled air of the submarine, and suddenly the reality of our situation becomes crushingly real. The sonar operators at their stations lean forward, their faces illuminated by the amber glow of their screens, watching green dots representing enemy destroyers move closer with each passing second. Outside these steel walls, in the depths above us, they're hunting, sweeping their active sonar through the water like searchlights, trying to find us, trying to pin down our position so they can send us to the bottom. We have maybe minutes to achieve complete acoustic invisibility. The engineering teams below deck are already throttling down the reactor to bare minimum power output. Every pump, every piece of machinery that can be shut down gets shut down. The ventilation systems dial back to a whisper. The galley crew stops moving. Even the fluorescent lights seem to dim, as if the submarine itself is holding its breath. I watch a junior officer sitting at one of the metal desks of the control room, his hands trembling slightly, as he updates our tactical log with a closed notebook in front of him, his pen frozen mid-word. He's 19 years old. Most of the men on this boat are barely old enough to legally drink, and now they're being asked to become statues in the dark. The pressure begins immediately. It's not just the physical weight of 800 feet of water pressing against our hull, though that's certainly real enough. It's the psychological pressure of knowing that discovery means annihilation. There's no escape hatch, no lifeboat, no way off this vessel if something goes wrong. The torpedo tubes are loaded and ready on both the enemy ships and ours, but they won't fire unless someone makes a catastrophic mistake. A single clanging noise, a pump that doesn't shut down fast enough, a sailor who forgets where he is and lets a door slam. Any one of those mistakes ripples through the water and lights up their sonar screens like a Christmas tree, and then it's over. The captain moves through the control room like a ghost, checking gauges, reading faces, assessing which of his men are on the edge of breaking. I can see the calculation behind his eyes. He's thinking about resource management. How long can we stay down here at this power level? How long before someone cracks? How long before the men start making mistakes because their minds are fracturing under the strain? A leather chair sits abandoned near the navigation station, perfectly aligned under a brass lamp that's been dimmed to almost nothing, waiting for someone to take their post. The silence grows heavier. Minutes pass like hours. The sonar operators remain frozen at their stations, headsets glued to their ears, their entire world reduced to the subtle acoustic signatures of the ships hunting them from above. Each ping from the enemy sonar is a violation, a probe into our metal tomb, a reminder that we're not safe, that we're never safe, that we're completely at the mercy of their technology and our ability to remain undetected. The weight of command falls on the captain's shoulders like the weight of the ocean itself, and every man on this submarine knows it. One wrong call, one moment of hesitation or misjudgment, and he sends us all into the abyss. The tension is suffocating. It fills the corridors like seawater, rising slowly, threatening to drown us from the inside out. The hours blur together in ways that make time feel like it's moving backward. 36 hours into silent running, and I can't remember the last time I heard anything louder than a whisper. Our diesel engines are reduced to the barest minimum, just enough to keep us moving, just enough to stay alive. But that minimum is killing us in slower, more insidious ways. The air grows thick, stale. We're breathing recycled oxygen now, pulling carbon dioxide from the atmosphere that we can't fully scrub fast enough. It builds in your lungs, in your blood, in your brain. After the first full day, you start to notice it. A heaviness settles behind your eyes. Your thoughts move like they're traveling through water. The crew notices it too. I can see it in how long it takes Peterson to acknowledge a direct order. I can see it in how many times Miller has to reread the same pressure gauge before his brain actually processes what he's looking at. Sleep becomes impossible. Even though exhaustion presses down on us like an additional 1,000 pounds per square inch. We can't risk the noise of bunks moving. We can't risk someone sleeping so deeply that they jolt awake and cry out. So we sit. We sit in dimmed compartments in leather chairs, facing the brass-rimmed viewports we can't look out of without risking our position. We sit with our closed notebooks in front of us, journals where we're supposed to be logging readings, but mostly we're just staring at blank pages. The fluorescent lights above flicker occasionally, and each time they do, someone's jaw tightens. We're waiting for those lights to go out completely. We're waiting for the moment when the enemy decides we're worth destroying. Somewhere above us, maybe 2,000 feet up, their sonar is sweeping the water. Back and forth, like a predator's eye, never blinking, never sleeping. They know something is down here. You don't position 3 destroyer escorts in a grid pattern for nothing. You don't order a submarine to this depth for nothing. The silence between us has become its own kind of communication. A look across the control room tells you everything. The captain meets my eyes for less than a second, and I understand that he's calculating probabilities, weighing options, trying to find the path through this maze that doesn't end with our names on a memorial. If this level of pressure and insight resonates with you, drop a like. It helps us keep bringing these untold stories to the surface. We're compartmentalized now, not just physically, but psychologically. Each of us is locked inside our own head, cycling through the same thoughts. Will they detect us? How long can we stay down? What happens if the air becomes too bad to breathe? The carbon dioxide climbs in incremental degrees that we can taste. It's sweet, almost chemical. It makes your mouth dry. It makes your thoughts scatter and reform in different patterns than you're used to. On the second day, someone almost breaks. It's Martinez from the engine room, a guy I've known for 6 years. He's solid, professional. But when we're conducting a silent bearing change and we need to shift our heading by 5 degrees, his hands start shaking. Just slightly, just enough that the captain notices and calls him out with a look. Martinez's face goes pale under the emergency lighting. He steadies himself and completes the maneuver. No one says anything. No one can. Because if we acknowledge the breaking point, we admit that the whole thing might be starting to crack apart. The enemy vessels above are patient. That's the most terrifying part. They're not hunting frantically. They're not pinging aggressively. They're simply waiting, positioning, calculating. They have depth charges. They have acoustic torpedoes. They have time. We have the air in our tanks, and the air is getting worse with every passing hour. I find myself counting my breaths without meaning to. Inhale, exhale. That's 1 more second survived, 1 more second closer to whatever comes next. The captain sits at his desk in the plotting room, and on that desk is a single closed notebook. He hasn't opened it in 18 hours. I've been watching him watch it, watching him debate with himself about whether recording our position or movements is worth the risk of writing anything down. The lead pencil lies next to the notebook, casting a long shadow under the brass lamp that illuminates his corner. He's aged a decade in 2 days. We all have. The submarine around us feels smaller with each passing hour. The walls seem to inch inward. The corridor that stretched 60 meters this morning feels like it's only 30 now. Your peripheral vision starts to tunnel. Your sense of space distorts. The oxygen deprivation and carbon dioxide elevation do strange things to your perception. I catch myself staring at the same instrument panel for 5 minutes without actually seeing it. Then I realize what's happening, and the panic sets in. That's the real enemy. Not the depth. Not the silence. It's your own mind turning against you, your own body betraying you from the inside out. I can feel it now. The oxygen monitor on the wall, that red digit creeping up. 3 hours of breathable air left. 2 if we're unlucky. The captain hasn't said it aloud, but everyone knows. The air's getting thin, you can taste it. Metallic, sweet, wrong. Then at 0340 hours, something shifts. The sonar operator's hand freezes. His headset comes off slowly. He turns to face the captain, and for the first time in 18 hours, there's confusion on his face instead of fear. The destroyer's gone silent. Completely silent. No active sonar, no pinging, no detection sweep. Nothing. It's either a trap or they've given up looking. The captain sits motionless in his chair. I watch his jaw tighten. Every second we stay down, our oxygen burns. Every second we surface, we risk being spotted on their passive sensors. We're at the edge of physics and psychology meeting. One wrong choice ends this story in the dark. I realize now that this moment, this exact intersection of impossible options, is what separates the men who crack from the men who hold. My first officer, Peterson, is running the numbers in his head. I can see it. 23 years of service, and his hands are shaking slightly as he grips the railing. Not from fear, from the weight of knowing that whatever happens next, he's part of it. We all are. The captain looks at me, no words, just a look that says everything. We both know the mathematics. We know the odds. We know that surfacing in daylight with an unknown enemy still in the vicinity is suicide. But staying down is just a slower version of the same thing. Then I remember something. Something from my first deployment. A rule nobody teaches you in the academy. Sometimes the right decision isn't the one that makes logical sense. It's the one that makes your crew believe they're still alive. I step forward and speak for the first time in 14 hours. My voice sounds wrong, hollow. But I tell the captain what I think we need to do. Rise to periscope depth. Passive sonar only. Risk everything on the assumption that silence means they've lost us, not that they're waiting. For 3 seconds, the entire submarine holds its breath in a literal sense. Everyone's watching the captain. Everyone's waiting to know if they're going to live or die based on what he says next. He nods. What follows is the slowest ascent in submarine history. 2,000 feet in 30 minutes. Every meter, I expect to hear the cry of enemy propellers. Every meter, I think this is where it ends. The oxygen alarms tick steadily. The pressure gauges move like dying heartbeats. Peterson's face is gray. The young sailor at the hydrophone has tears running down his cheeks, but his hands are steady. At 80 feet, we have 6 minutes of breathable air left. At 50 feet, the periscope breaks the surface, and the captain's eye is against it. He looks. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. He steps back. I can see it in his face before he even speaks. Nothing. Clear skies, empty horizon. The destroyer is gone. We surfaced into free air in the middle of a cold Atlantic morning. No enemy, no capture, no death in the dark. Just 542 men who'd learned the real meaning of pressure, and discovered that sometimes when you're forced to choose between two deaths, choosing the one you can actually see somehow feels like living. The crew didn't cheer. We were too broken for that. Too exhausted. We just breathed. For the first time in 22 hours, we breathed without counting. That's the story of the standoff that nearly killed us. But it survived because someone made a split-second decision, under conditions where any decision felt like dying. The enemy didn't sink us. The depth didn't crush us. Our own minds almost did. But the moment you stop choosing to believe you're finished, you've already won something the other side can't take. If you've ever felt that kind of pressure, whether it's in a submarine or in your own life, you understand something most people never will. Like, subscribe, so you never miss the next story. And if this one resonated with you, let me know in the comments what moment in your own life taught you that survival isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's about being the one willing to make the hardest choice when there are no good options.